So that 19-minute trailer then.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, well that's
All
not
right,
the
you want
one.
to talk about that 19 minutes of Elden Ring footage they put out?
Yeah, that's not the 19 minutes I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the other 19 minutes.
So the 19 minutes of Elden Ring footage they put out is like pretty obviously the same shit they showed to people like 7 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
like forever ago. That they've been like
Some people had
holding
their eyes on
close.
that for a while, in which case then I guess that would mean this is not exactly recent footage.
No, it would mean it's quite old footage, actually.
Brr.
That being said, there's a lot that you can glean from it. I looked at this footage real careful with my soul's eye when it dropped, and I talked to a lot of people who are obsessed with these games. Do you remember the conversation we had when the Des remake was coming out and how immaculate it looked and how incredible it looked? And we brought up the idea, it looks so good, and Bluepoint made it look so nice. What if Elden Ring doesn't look as good as the Des remake?
Yeah.
Well, the footage is out, and guess what? It doesn't.
That being said, like, so there's a thing though. You have to look at, there's art design and then there's technical.
Well, here's the thing. The art, the people who made the art in both is the same. It's the same source. It's the From Software Souls artists. But the difference here is pretty obvious. Demon Souls is a bunch of discrete loading levels. In the Elden Ring footage that we see, a gentleman gets up on a horsey and just rides in a direction for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, and overlooks like a big vista. Yeah, a game that has that structure is never going to look like the Des remake. Never.
Now, but just going into, like, again, the difference between technical versus, like, the art-wise, those fucking Erd trees are gorgeous. That's some real cool shit happening.
Real pretty and gold
in the distance whenever you're running around, and like it's fun to look at. That's a pretty.
And also, to be very fair to Elden Ring, Elden Ring's coming out on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One.
Yes, it
like
is.
It's
last
not
gen
PS5 exclusive.
No,
or anything
it is
like
not.
that.
Whereas Des remake was absolutely 5 exclusive, so for sure. Also, that probably going to mean no fun DualSense stuff going on. You know, as more of an afterthought.
They'll probably use regular ass vibration.
Because that bow and arrow stuff was really cool in the Des remake. You know, with the
I turned it off.
Yeah, well.
Because it would stop me from firing arrows every now and then.
Like I said, I got used to that, but
the stuff where you feel it in the base of the controller, I love on every game that has it. But all the trigger stuff, I turn off immediately. I cannot stand it.
I mean, it sounded, like I said, it sounded like awful to me on paper, and then in Returnal, I was like, oh my god, that actually works, you know. So yeah, you got that 19-minute thing. One thing that I see that I'm really curious about, because it was also in the one of the first looks at it, is like how many overworld, oh fuck, I walked into the wrong area, now I'm fighting a boss spots are we looking at, you know? Like the idea of like you just hit this watery area and now a life bar appears is like, damn, that's gonna keep me on my toes in a way that is not quite like Breath of the Wild per se, but it seems like if there's a bunch of that shit happening constantly, that's crazy. It's scary and exciting, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's no way to accurately answer that question without playing it for yourself. But my gut reaction after playing the older Souls games is that every Souls game has been getting more obsessed with not letting you know you're walking into a boss fight.
Yeah.
So Bloodborne was the start of you're not showing up and walking through a fog door. You're walking into a room and then a boss drops at you and then you turn around and there's a fog door behind you and you're like, God damn it, fucking shit.
Yeah. I mean, the Pursuer was like one of the first times it was like, oh, whoa, what? You know, where's the fog door? Where's the indicator? What's going on here?
I can only imagine that having like in the footage you see a dragon come from like beyond the edge of the horizon, like they're a dot.
And just crashes down,
just crash in. That's got to be the new form of that, which is like there would be no way to tell that was going to happen unless you already knew it was there.
Get fucking ambushed, yeah. And then of course the other idea being like, is it this like a invisible arena threshold, or is it a like, if you're in this province, you might run into some problems, you know? Type of thing. So there's a couple ways.
Well, all the footage they have of fighting that dragon is pretty much in that same spot in the water. So I'm going to assume that the dragon just doesn't leave.
Sure. You got that. It seems like you're gonna seamlessly summon and jump off of your horse like constantly, and that's cool. Whatever magic lore reasons there are for that, because you know, horse is a cool feeling when you're riding in the plains, but it can also be cumbersome in small spaces. And
it's a weird looking horse. We saw that in the first trailer, but like this footage, you get a better look at it. It's like a goat.
But there's a thing where they clearly went like, what are the fun parts of horsing? And then what are the unfun parts? And all the unfun parts, they just like, yeah, it goes away now. You know, bring it out when you want it, and then don't when you don't. Now super jump off of this sonic spring and get a nice big like sweeping Sekiro, woo, you know, and land. So you got to see some of that. We got to see, and the boss fights they showed you. They're not going to show you the whole fight, but they give you like, you know, a fade in to like the start of it, and then a fade out. Mr. Big Axe Man, multi-hand dude, shit like that looked pretty dope. Yeah, I know that the point of making these things cinematic is to not have like a HUD so that it feels like more immersive, but I would love to see that stuff and like item switching if it's happening. I'd like to see life bars and stamina, you know.
I mean, for a promotional video like this, you can absolutely understand pulling the HUD all the way off because it looks so much prettier.
Yeah, for sure. I do. I totally get it. And alongside some of this, they showed off, or they announced at least the 5 classes that are going to be available for the network test. And this is kind of interesting because it's less classes than you had in previous Souls games, direct comparison.
But it's not less classes that you've had in previous industry demos of Dark Souls games.
Okay.
So the Dark Souls 1 demo had like, I think 8, and like one of them was like Black Knight, and it was a guy in full set of armor. And they tend to be, for the demo reasons or task reasons or whatever, they tend to be more built up in terms of equipment than your actual real starting classes.
Okay. They're giving you, interesting. I'm looking at like the fact that there is clearly a like, here is a intentional spell sword, and I thought that's pretty sick. I mean, like the
I can't think of many of the series that ever included anything like that.
No, and it's super interesting because what the fuck is it called? The Bloody Wolf looks like the coolest, like Artorias armor wearing badasses.
The Bloody Wolf looks like the character they would put on the box.
Exactly, right? Why would you?
The Elite Knight set or Ferrum set of armor that.
Why would you not want to be this cool guy, right? But the fact that you see the what is it? The Enchanted Knight, where it's like, no, sword in one hand, staff in the other. We're encouraging this actual spell sword thing.
Oh, here you go, Mr. Madden. Here's the build that you wanted to start as in every game you've ever played in this series. Here you go.
Not just me. This is what Reggie is trying to do constantly. And I have to be like, okay, well, make sure you know, pick and choose how you want to do this. Be careful. You might not get exactly what you want here. But Yeah, and so like it's like okay, but the idea of casting and swinging and doing stuff and at sacrifice of a shield sounds super dope. And here you see that, and you see like not just like here's a homing soul arrow or some shit. You see a fucking Shinku Hadouken at one point get blasted out in the trailer.
That is a spell that already exists in 3.
Okay,
that beam.
The beam.
Yeah, that thing already exists.
Yeah. You get what do you get? You get also the weirdness is back. They take a minute to show you Alexander the Pot Man beat his ass and get him unstuck, and these are the types of NPCs you're gonna hang out with.
This is not Dark Souls, but they're obviously these devs love certain types of archetypes. So I seriously doubt we're gonna see Sigurd or any Onion Bros. But yeah, what if there was a dude that was like a big dum-dum, but he was like round, and he talked to you and went ho 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 ho, right? Like
weird creature shit. And then and this is like, I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine like once you just get used to it, but like the fact that this map is the size it is, and then there's a map to look at that's actually helpful, and it lets you put down a godlight to go to a actual like that's so much more forgiving navigationally than other Souls games would be, but this is just a bigger world, so I guess it's like, yeah, no, you can have that map, it's okay. You're still not gonna know what's around that corner in that dark fucking shitty mansion or whatever.
And to be fair, the map is hand drawn, so it's not like it's not necessarily going to be 100% accurate, detailed screenshot map, right?
But
it's an artistic rendition of the space,
right? But it's not a map telling you where every street corner is in the town you're jumping through, or what floors are on what of this castle.
Yeah,
it's just a dot that says this is that town. I'm wondering as well, because we still did see like there's like a fog door that you walk towards at the end, and then you go and you fight whatever big dude. And I'm wondering if like every fight is going to be designed, every boss fight is going to be designed for horse or non-horse, because it seems as if like you're fighting that dragon on the horse because you're already on your horse. Fuck you. You're walking in to a fog gate to fight this big guy, and you're going to fight it in a more traditional Souls kind of way. But since you can pull your horse out wherever, like in theory, could you just do that and sacrifice speed for extra moves and abilities? If you have two approaches to these bosses, that could be fun.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the footage. I'm at the 14-ish minute mark, and the person's walking through an area that looks suspiciously like Demon Souls' 1-1, like the interior of the wall.
Yeah.
I cannot possibly imagine, like, there must be some kind of distinction between like
being able to use a horse there
and the inner world, basically.
Right,
where it becomes a discrete Souls level.
Okay, there's a point where it's like you roll up to this barrier, and then it's like, okay, you're going indoors now, get the fuck off, and that's
because I'm just thinking, like, I'm seeing the person, like, they're running on the top of a battlement right now, in the footage, and I can only imagine how fucking fucked up and jank it would look like if you were able to use your horse in here.
But like when I see a large boss room, it definitely makes me think like, oh, like what if I wanted to approach it that way, like strafing in large circles around this dude instead or whatever. But that's interesting. There are some really also cool spells you see get cast, and one of them calls out a stand who fucking not just attacks the boss, but gets his attention.
Yeah.
And that is the big part about summons. Is it's not just you have help on a boss, it carries their attention away from you. And if you can do that as a spell, holy shit.
Yeah, first seen in the Dark Souls 3 Cinders mod. There now appear to be enemy-type summons. They talked about this a while ago when people first saw that footage and did some of the preview coverage. where you'll be able to basically get like enemies or like Pokemons essentially that you'd be summoned to help you. You see some of that here, but yeah, no, this is 100% something from a Dark Souls 3 mod that I play. I've mentioned it here before, the Cinders mod.
Right. Yeah.
It looks to function exactly the same way.
I mean, anything, no matter what damage it does, anything that you can get that'll distract the boss from you for even a second is worth the cost of entry instantly.
And that would be more reliable than another human player because they can disconnect. And
Exactly.
You can have trouble running into them on your network's shenanigans.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what else to dance around here. No.
What are you talking about?
Nothing. I'm thinking about.
We're talking about the footage.
I'm looking at this footage. I'm looking at some of the glowing spells that we see, and I like a big glowing spell. I like a big blue sword. That looks dope. I hope that there are many attacks that follow that style, because then you get the fun of, like, if you want to swing a big blue sword as a spell, then you don't necessarily have to have the sword. You can have your own sword, but you can just summon a big cool one, and that's dope. So like, if being a spellcaster means like that type of move variety, then I might be like satisfied with not necessarily going and crafting the actual weapon myself if I can just do stuff like that, you know?
I gotta say, one of the more interesting things, because I've seen a lot of people talk about this footage, and there is a proportion of people that were using a very specific term where they had played and beaten all the Souls games, and they wanted something like more dramatically new. And I saw the phrase being used pretty consistently, like, please don't let this just be big Dark Souls.
Big Souls 4.
And you watch this footage, and it's like, that sure looks like big Dark Souls to me.
At one point,
also, some guy in the chat is dead right. Sekiro was much newer and more different, and I didn't like it as much as any of these other games.
This is true. Same here. There's a nice little pause screen you take a look at as they go to do some crafting, which, I'm not a big crafting guy, but I know people love it, so that's all fine and dandy.
I also hate crafting, but if this means that you don't have to travel to a merchant every time you want to put, like, I don't know what they would call it, fire bombs?
Sure.
For a boss's weak to fire?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Because that was always one of these annoying things in the Souls games. You remember in Bloodborne, the electricity paper?
Sure. Yeah.
You remember how you could only get like 10
and you have to go back to the fucking dream every time.
Yeah, but even then they had a limited amount in the shop.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be nice if you could just make that. Like, I can kind of get it.
In a situation that's a bit more again, Breath of the Wild, where you're coming across a bunch of shit on your journey, on your travels anyway, or whatever. It's a little less cumbersome if you have that material just sitting in your pouch.
I'm just thinking about Breath of the Wild, and I'm thinking about walking around in Elden Ring, and you hit a rock and hear "Yahaha!"
Sure, but yeah, just like if it's not that annoying, then cool. But in general, I'm a little down on crafting. But in that same pause screen, I'm looking here and I can see you got vigor, mind, endurance, strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith, and arcane.
I mean, that sounds pretty standard for these games.
Sure.
What is that? 9 of them? Well, all those but one is a stat that we've seen in like at least 4 other games.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like, I mean, there's no vit and vigor; it's just vigor. And then mind is, I guess it's whatever. But
mind has been in. Mind is the one that's second on the list.
Yes,
that probably replaces attunement. It's your mana one.
Okay. Arcane, I guess, would be a just a third branch of spell shit is what it seems like it would be. And souls are runes.
How many? Let me ask you. Let's say, I don't know if you're planning on covering it when this game comes out.
I'm gonna play it.
But I played Sekiro. I played Bloodborne, and I was never able to successfully break myself of the habit of saying souls. They're not souls in Bloodborne, and I don't even remember what they're called in Sekiro, but they're not souls there either. And I said souls almost every time.
I still say souls playing Neo. Even if I'm talking about Onmyo tokens.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, or Mibu salt water. Fucking yeah, they're souls. That's what it is. Amrita. They're fucking souls.
Which is weird because it's just experience. Like that's what it actually is.
But it's also money.
It's a single syllable.
Yeah.
Money and experience are 2 and 3 syllables respectively.
Yeah. And then let's see. HP, FP, stamina, equip load, poise, discovery, and then memory slots.
That's pretty standard.
Pretty standard. If Arcane is luck, then fuck off.
Why? What? You don't like having to waste your points on a stat that just increases item drops?
Give me 10 humanity and a fucking covetous serpent ring, and I'll go hunting. Leave me alone.
Yeah, well, what if in Elden Ring you can only get the covetous serpent ring after 89 hours?
Yeah. Didn't see any screens where like you would look at like ring equipment and stuff like that. It was just so didn't get to see anything like that.
Do you even see the equipment scream? Equipment scream. Do you ever see the equipment screen at all in the entire footage?
No, I don't think so. At 540, you can see the pause screen, and then the crafting occur, but that's about it.
Gee, I wonder what it looks like.
Yeah. So, just what I want. When I'm looking at that Arcane thing, whatever the case is, I'm just like, can we live in a world without troll stats, please? Like, can we live in a world where, like, the player doesn't just get fucking, you know, ruined for spending tons of souls on a stat that does nothing or that lies to you?
That sting got blunted once respecs were allowed to exist.
True.
Still
because
Demons in Dark Souls 1, like, you can ruin your character. Like, you can absolutely level your character up into trash. Which is something that's a lot less common in 2, 3. Oh, actually, God, Bloodborne doesn't have a respec either! What the fuck? What? Ah!
And I know that obtuseness is the name of the game, but how hard would it be to just make it so that when you do hit a soft cap, the number just changes color a little bit? Just says, hey, that's a soft cap.
It's not as much.
Hey,
well, no, Wooly. What you're supposed to do is, as you level, you're supposed to take into account how much the R weapon number goes up every time you do it, depending on your scaling. And this time, when you get to 40 and you go to 41, you realize, wow, it didn't go up very much at all. That's weird.
Yeah, no, my equip load went up by 0.5 instead of a full point. God damn it.
That must be the soft cap.
Yeah. Yep. You know, it just you could be a little nice. You could be a little nice. That's all. Just a little bit.
Hey, I have an idea for you. This is pretty radical. What about a system with no soft or hard caps on your stats at all?
At all.
Short of 99.
Okay. So just achieve heaven. Just keep going.
Well, like, why not? Like, legitimately, why not?
Because if what if you make the game too easy by breaking it in that way? But then it's like, well, then
yeah,
scale.
but that means you put 100 levels into health.
Yes, exactly. Nothing can kill you, you know. Or just make like, yeah. I mean, well, PvP becomes a whole other fucking wild thing to consider.
I legitimately can't, because the Souls games have all lived and died off of soul level. And let's see, it's one on this game it's 90, on this game it's 120, right? With a game that's going to be an open world format, I cannot possibly imagine how a community is going to hit some kind of consensus on like, wait, do you really have to clear the whole map before your character is ready for PvP? That seems like it would be quite an undertaking.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's about all I can really squint at and glimmer and say here. I'm wondering if we're looking at a level of move list per weapon that emulates like the fullest like DS3 with arts and with possibly some weapons that might even have Bloodborne charges or, you know, forms, tricks. Like there's a lot of different styles of combat and power stancing that we've seen over the years, and this would be a nice place to incorporate them for like specific things. You know, maybe not everything, maybe not every two weapons needs a power stance, but two Cestus definitely should. You know, maybe not every weapon needs a Bloodborne charge, but some of them could have it. You know,
we don't see anything too crazy in the footage. It's all pretty standard. But what I can say is that if this it does look like it's running on Dark Souls 3's engine, like it looks like Dark Souls 3, right? If that's the case, there's a lot of really, really ambitious mods that exist for Dark Souls 3. There's Cinders, obviously. There's also, I forget the name of it, but a guy is turning Dark Souls 3 into Demon Souls.
Wow.
And there's a lot. There's recently been a thing where people are like ripping Orphan out and having them fight Gale, and just see what bosses win. And like
that's interesting. Like, okay.
Wait,
with their AI?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They lock onto a target like anything else.
Oh my god, interesting. Okay.
I saw Lady Maria versus I forget who it was, but something else, like stuff like that.
Wow.
So
cross game.
Even if we don't get something like this, I can only imagine it is a countdown timer before people start going, hey, I transplanted Dark Souls 1 off the coast of this spot. Yarnum is now in the ocean. Teleport there with this.
Yeah. And then I guess the one other thing, and they've been, I mean, I know the story's always coy. It's always, you know, mise en scène, background, and subtle. But
now it's got the George R. R. Martin, Woolie.
But that's the thing I'm wondering about. Is like, what is the part that he's getting paid the big bucks for? Because the stories that they come up with on their own without Grimm are still pretty good. How are we to know whether or not the Grimm has had a positive effect here beyond what they could have done on their own?
I can legitimately only imagine that Grimm's involvement was hit us with a creation myth and a world scenario, and then they put all the shit that they wanted to put into it anyway.
Okay. Like, we're putting
let's take, for example, the game is Elden Ring, and it's like a kind of Lord of the Rings kind of thing, right? The story is, well, the Elden Ring got split, and you know all that shit we saw in that trailer a million years ago. The game's color palette is overwhelmingly gold. Like, you see what is a bonfire equivalent, it's gold. You see the giant gold tree that dwarfs the horizon and everything. I seriously doubt that George was the one who said, what if you made your whole game gold?
Right.
No.
Yeah. He's not
somebody
the
at
art director.
FromSoft says
Yes,
the art director said we're going to be making the game gold. Make us a fucking story where gold is an important color.
I'm gonna go a step further and say that they had that overworld dragon boss fight completely done, and then they just waited for him to say, and then there was a dragon, and they're like, yep, right there.
Yeah, there it is.
And they just pulled it off the shelf and threw it down and said, that's the guy.
I can legitimately only imagine like the game is like half complete asset wise, and they show it to him, and they're like, write the opening cutscene now. I mean, for fuck's sake, how well can he know it? He called it Dark Souls 4 in an interview, for fuck's sake.
Right. And he had to, he has his own shit going on, clearly, or does he? But that's it. Like, they could have written a wonderful story without him, and they've proven that time and time and time again. It's an interesting PR move to get a big name like that on board.
You know what would be the absolute galaxy brain? Hey, George, we'll pay you $300 if you just say you wrote some of this.
Just pay him to do a cameo where he just records a video of himself going, "Hey, this is George R.R. Martin. I see we got a message coming in from Miyazaki. Hey, Miyazaki. Hey, glad to hear you're a fan.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Studio Ghibli, man.
Says here you got a big birthday coming up. That's cool. Happy birthday." Yeah, just completely fucking, and then just attach his name to that shit. Why not? Why not? It'll get in the mainstream press when it drops because of it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's.
Hey, did you know that? Oh man, did you know that not only is Book 6 not out, but George took time to write this giant video game instead? You know what? I can't wait. There is going to be a Reddit thread on the A Song of Fire and Ice Reddit. It's coming out in February, so let's say 4.5 months. Going, I've given up. I'm never going to get the ending to the story. I'm completely given up. I'm just gonna buy this Elden Ring game that I'm hearing about and just pretend that it's the ending.
This is the new ending.
And I'm just gonna pretend.
I mean, what really actually becomes a question is like, so this thing blows up, takes off, and Elden Ring becomes popular enough that it gets a novelization.
Shut up.
What's the move?
And it gets written by Bryan Sanderson.
You think you can go get some other people? Who's that?
I don't know if that joke hits you the same way it's hitting some people.
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy who finished A Wheel of Time after Robert.
Oh, the Robert Jordan replacement. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. The Robert Jordan replacement. Yeah.
Sorry, Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson. My mistake.
Got it. Yeah. Totally. But first, we have to go. We can't get to a novelization until we walk by an awful Western-style comic series.
Oh, yeah.
The Dark Souls comic.
Cut to a scene. Dingy room with a single lamp looking down on a table. An unknown individual puts a gun on the table, says, "Will you do it?" And then Brandon Sanderson grabs the gun and goes, "Yeah, I'll get right on it." And then 2 months later, Game of Thrones is over.
It's done. Anyways, that's some good footage. That's some good shit. And they released some details alongside that. You got the 5 classes we looked at for the network test, and then you also got confirmation that cross-save compatibility will work. However, it is one way. You can cross-save.
Yeah, you go up.
Up, but you can't go down. So PS5 to PS4 does not exist, but you can go 4
I
to
mean,
5.
that makes sense, right?
Yeah, but fuck off, because Neo lets you cross save whatever you want.
Let's just
Upload
save
your shit.
ourselves a huge headache and just not talk about the things Neo lets you do.
Fine.
Because we'll be here all
Fine.
day.
But if you happened to want to go down from 5 to 4 for any particular reason, whatever that might be, you know, you go to a friend's house and you want to play on the 5 and then you want to take your save back home, then you could. So, anyway.
I'm watching the footage again with the part where the guy goes through the invisible wall, and if anyone had any doubts that this is big Dark Souls, did you notice that the chest that they open is the same chest?
Is it?
Going back as far from Dark Souls 1?
Oh my god. Is the chain curled forward or backward?
No, it's curled backwards.
Yeah.
Look, I'll get a fucking screenshot of it for you. I'll just send it to you.
So that's gonna be that's the thing is
like
how many.
I remember watching the footage and going, "Oh, that one's not a mimic."
How many assets are just the exact same? You know. Anyway, confirmation on that with the saves, as well as you're gonna have a performance mode and a high frame rate, so you can get your 60 frames and you got your 4K, and that'll be the state of affairs for now.
That's unshocking. And then on the personal computer, you'll probably just have all the knobs that you want to turn.
And if it doesn't unlock, I'm sure it'll take 2 seconds before someone says, "Here, unlock it. Do what you want."
I don't think they're gonna make that mistake again. Sekiro ran really well. Sekiro was a really solid PC port.
Yeah. I understand the limitations of where we are, and I understand that we're, like, especially with, they said, what is it, ray tracing is going to come later. So it's almost exactly like what DMC 5 is going through with Special Edition, or went through. And I know that it's like, pick which of these two do you care about? Do you care about having, the crispest possible image, or do you care about the crispest possible frame rate?
The frame rate. These games are hard as shit.
Of course. A million times. But, like, I hope that, like, as we go forward into the future, that this divide doesn't continue to be just like, this is the state of all games now, is, one of these two, where it's just like, I
don't know. That's a dramatically better state than it usually was, which is, hey, look, the game runs like shit.
That's
Enjoy
a deal
it.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having the option.
Need I remind you, we're talking about the company that gave us PS3 Blighttown. And
we're okay with that.
Where the engine is forcibly V-synced at all frames, so it just shits itself. The instant you hit 29.99 frames, it shits itself and goes down to 15 while you're doing platforming with mosquitoes shooting blood at you.
So yeah, there you go.